on Court TV.
For almost 10 years, college students across the Midwest have been turning up dead in nearby rivers after nights of heavy drinking. Police say it's just a deadly combination of youth and booze, but criminologist D. Lee Gilbertson says that at least some of the deaths were murders and that they could be connected. Todd Richmond from the Associated Press has been tracking the story for years. Todd, let me start with you. We covered this story. One of the cases, police have gone back and said it's a homicide, and now cases in this Michigan, Wisconsin area around the waterways, lots of these cases have been brought back to the fore, 22, 23 all told. I understand people in the area are very, very concerned, but police are basically disputing that there could be any general homicide going on here.
Well, that's right. Police have not found any kind of physical evidence to suggest any type of foul play in any of these cases, except for Chris Jenkins in Minneapolis. Chris Jenkins was a University of Minnesota student who disappeared from a bar in Minneapolis on Halloween of 2002. He was found in the Mississippi a few months later. Cause of death was drowning, and police at that time said it was most likely an accident or a suicide. However, a few weeks ago, last month actually, they reopened the case and reclassified it as a homicide after they got a tip from someone they are calling a suspect/witness. So that's sort of reopened this whole can of worms about what's happening to these kids.
How extensive has the re-examination of the other deaths been? Have they done exhumations? Have they gone back through the files or not?
Well, I'm most familiar with some of the drownings in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where 8 college-age men have drowned in the last 8 years. And I can tell you that police there have had the Wisconsin Department of Justice review their findings, and the DOJ has found no shortcomings. However, after the 8th student went in September, Luke Holman, a UW La Crosse basketball player, police and the word of Chris Jenkins' reclassification, police have asked the FBI to review their findings once again. However, they still insist that there's no connection between these deaths and they're all accidental. They just have no evidence to suggest otherwise.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to look at, at the scenarios, the timelines, the activities of any of these young men to kind of, give it a cursory glance and see whether it looks suspicious or looks like it's simply a tragic result of a night of drinking?
Well, the story is all the same. They simply vanish from a bar, their friends lose track of them, and the next thing anyone knows, they turn up dead in a river a few days or a few weeks later. The timelines, generally, they seem to be separated by, I would say, at least in Wisconsin, by a span of anywhere from 6 months to even a year apart. So I'm most familiar with the ones in Wisconsin, and they're pretty well spaced out.
Are all of the drownings relatively close to the bar areas where the young men were last seen?
Yes, within blocks. La Crosse's bar district, it's the same as St. Cloud, where Professor Gilbertson is. The bar scene is only a few blocks from the river, especially in La Crosse. It's downhill all the way. So when you're coming out of a bar, it might make sense to you follow the path of least resistance right to the river.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that does make sense. Well, Doctor, the leading cause of death for young men, accidents, and for young men between 15 and 24, drowning deaths 10 times the rate of young women. What sort of stats do you have to contradict the notion of accidents?
Well, the analysis that we did, spatiotemporal analysis, is examining space and time. Okay. Well, we look at space and time, and lots of folks will talk about crime mapping, and crime mapping generally is putting dots on the map so you can see the dispersion or the distribution of crime, and then some folks combine those two, and you end up with looking at space and time. How do the maps change relative to a period of time, like from month to month or year to year?
Let me interrupt just a second, and I want to put up a graphic that we made, and this is basically from your information, talking about the similarities among the drowned victims. So they vanished between 10 p.m. Thursday, 4 a.m. Sunday during the first half of the month. Well, that time period, the weekend, that's when people would be out drinking. First half of the month, I don't know.